Look, the Nintendo Switch is a great system, even if there were things that people didn't like about it. I've been some of the people that didn't like the system at first, and honestly, I've made countless videos talking about the system and its flaws. But it's a system that I now have put countless hours into, and the online service, as of now, is passable at best. And while it has a lot of things that are exciting and overall make it more interesting, such as the 99 series and other game vouchers and stuff like that, one of the things that Nintendo have brought to the table that was truly amazing was the retro game library. From the NES to the SNES to now even Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, those titles are really good. And there's some heavy hitters. And, it's a really solid library. If you look at it, it's a really solid library. But I do think there are some untapped potential that Nintendo can actually bring into the library of these particular games, because there's something missing from it that I would like to see. And honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea at all. The Nintendo Wii, I would see potentially working in this case. Now, there are some, games that wouldn't work for it. There are some that wouldn't work and would work. Now, one of the games that I would potentially see this working for is Mario Party 8 and 9, and even some of the Wii titles. Wii Music, Wii Sports, even Wii Play in some instances. And of course, a big if would be the Mario Galaxy games, as the Mario Galaxy games didn't really use a lot of motion control, and I think the Joy-Cons would work as the substitute for the Wii's motion controls, and Nintendo wouldn't have to make a whole separate Wii controller. Now, people are gonna have mixed opinions on this, which I probably think would happen, but still, I would think this would be a no-brainer, and I would think it would be widely successful despite the challenges that might arise with this particular system. Nintendo GameCube, I could see as a 50-50. Now, I'm not gonna, leave the remakes and remasters out of this, which, I'll be honest, for certain titles, a lot of them look very amazing. I'm not going to lie to you on this. But still, I would think this would be very likely. And honestly, Nintendo managed to put Sunshine in 3D All-Stars. Why not put the other games on there? Mario Kart Double Dash seems to be a good game for it, and of course, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Legend of Zelda, all these other heavy hitter titles, I would think would potentially work for the GameCube, and I would like to see this implemented. And while I think it would be more or less a 50-50, highly unlikely, I would like to see the potential of this working, which honestly, many of the titles that were made for this particular system were very enjoyable. And don't even get me started on the controller. The button mapping for the particular controller that this GameCube has, I would think would be very good to implement into the system. It's very easy to control, honestly, and very comfortable. But I would say it would be very 50-50 on my part. I don't know. People might have to get their thoughts out. So, the Nintendo DS is a tricky situation. And considering that, there are many great titles on the system, I would think this would be very highly unlikely, because to be honest, the dual screen, I wouldn't think it would work on the Switch. And there's some doubts that would happen with the DS. And while it did work with the Wii U in the past, I still do have my doubts. There's so many questions to ask when it comes to this particular console being on the online retro game catalog. You know, one thing would be, how would two screens be integrated? How would the controls be changed for the DS? And even what cost would it be for the developers and Nintendo to implement this into the service? So many things to think about. And, I would think it would be very highly unlikely because, there isn't really a certain way to, implement this. And I don't think it would happen. So, just kind of something to think about.